Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning, Dan. I was going to guess $1 billion. I've never seen him work a day in his life, so this is kind of fun. Let's play with your salary.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
And then we'll do yours too. How much did you make when you played for the Bengals?
First year, $100,000. I thought I was the richest man on earth. Got a $200,000 signing bonus. I went to the bank and asked for it in pennies.
You did not.
I did. I knew the banker, of course.
What did you splurge on anything?
I was scared to death, too. I really was. I was so afraid that I was going to get cut and humiliated and, so I drove my Bobcat. That's what I had in college, a Bobcat, which is not quite a Pinto. And I drove it until about week 13 in the season. Then I bought a Porsche.
Oh, look at you.
On up. Yes, sir.
Did you have vanity plates?
No, I didn't even know what that was. No. Come on, man. You know me. You've known me a long time. I was pretty simple.
That means Boomer Esiason probably had vanity plates.
I'm trying to think if he did or not. I'm not sure that he did. He was the first human being I ever knew to make $1 million, so I do remember that.
And
I stole his first paycheck.
Well, he was the MVP 1 year too.
Oh yeah. No, we were lucky. We had 2 MVPs in Cincinnati while I played. Kenny won MVP in '81 and Boomer in '88.
I had Maurice Jones-Drew on a couple of days ago, and he made a strong argument about, you know what, know your worth, and if he was Le'Veon Bell, he would sit out until week 10. And he was saying, look, as a running back, and he understands exactly what Le'Veon Bell is doing and why he has this thought process. Can you make a case for what Le'Veon Bell is doing?
Yeah, I can. There's a handful of guys that can impact the running game and the passing game the way that he can. And I do think they're worth more. Adrian Peterson was a great player and is a great player, had a good game the other day, but he's not going to impact the passing game. And I think that Le'Veon probably justifiably looks at Pittsburgh and says, if I go back, I'm going to get 25 touches a game. And if I get hurt, then, I'm out of luck. So he has to play 6 games to become vested and probably moving on from there. So I think that's exactly what he's doing. I hear incredible things around the league right now. I mean, things that we would have never even considered doing. I had somebody on the team the other day tell me that guys are refusing to play on the kickoff team. I was like, what? He said, yeah. He said, they go, look at the statistics. It's too dangerous. I'm not playing on there. I was trying to imagine telling Forrest Gregg that I'm not playing on anything. There was such a fear factor with how we thought of our team, and of course there was no free agency when I played, but you just wouldn't dare do anything like that because you didn't have other options.
But also, if you're a teammate, and his offensive lineman called him out, which I found surprising.
I did too.
And you think they're just going to welcome him with open arms in week 10 and want to block for him and say, hey, we're great. You got, I'm glad you're back. You got fresh legs and help us get to the playoffs. Do you think that is, can you compartmentalize this if you're the Steelers offensive line?
No, but I get it on both ends, right? I mean, Pittsburgh clearly knows he's one of their best players, so they're frustrated that he's not coming back. But the general rule in the NFL has always been you don't mess with another man's money, right? If he's holding out and he's looking for a better contract, the other players on the team are going to support that because it's always sort of us against them and management and, you never get paid enough and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know if it runs a little deeper. Is there something we don't know about the relationship between the offensive line and Le'Veon Bell? Maybe there was a feeling that, hey, how about giving us a little credit for some of the numbers that you put up? And that is a really good offensive line. But I think that, the Todd Gurley deal kind of set the bar for that one. And unfortunately, they're still saying the running back position is, doesn't have that kind of value because of the injury rate. Well, part of the injury rate is you're using them 25 times a game. And if you're going to use me 25 times a game, I'm not coming, So there's logic on both ends of it.
He's Cris Collinsworth, NBC, Sunday Night Football analyst. We got the Giants and the Cowboys coming up Sunday night. Ross Tucker was on, a former NFL player, and he said that he thinks Sam Darnold right now might be as good as Eli Manning.
I tell you, for the Giants, it was a game of missed opportunities. So I don't know that I'm quite ready to go there yet, although Sam Darnold has been really impressive all the way through. He was impressive in college. That's a tough choice. The PFF guys that I have, they're all about the analytics of the thing. And even though Saquon Barkley was great in week one, the chance of getting a franchise quarterback at any point, right, and no matter when you're drafting, even if you're drafting number one overall, sometimes is not very good. So there was a real debate in our building. It really wasn't much of a debate. Our guys said they should have taken Sam Darnold, no matter how good Saquon Barkley was. But I still think what's interesting about watching the Giants is that they have so many great weapons on that offense. And I thought Odell looked tremendous. They certainly have the ability to make some big plays. Odell had a chance in that game if they don't miss some overthrows and, the Jaguars take some penalties instead of letting Odell get behind them. They miss a cover zero, easy throw to the post because of some immediate pressure. They had a chance for Odell to have over 200 yards receiving in his first game back. But Dallas looked like that too. I mean, Dallas looked like it was the third preseason game. The mistakes they made in that game are ordinarily mistakes you make in the third preseason game, but because nobody's playing the third preseason game anymore, those mistakes come on opening day, and I thought both teams looked like that.
Jerry Jones was doing his weekly radio show on The Fan in Dallas. He had this to say about Dak Prescott.
We've got a quarterback that is somewhere between the one that you saw with the Rams last night and Cam Newton. He can do some of what both of those guys do. There's an old adage in looking and evaluating a player. If you've seen them do it a few times, they can do it. And if you've seen them do it, well, frankly, all of our fans have seen Dak do it. Well, it's there. He's got it.
Is that good enough to have a quarterback who's in between Goff and Cam?
Well, depends on where you're trying to get, I guess. That's not far off. What I saw was an offense that was uncomfortable. I mean, just uncomfortable. They didn't look good at all, and it wasn't the protection. I thought for the most part the protection in the game. I'm just about finished with the fourth quarter now, watching the tape. I thought the protection was really good. They've got an issue at wide receiver. They really don't. I can't remember a single throw. And I'm about 10 minutes to go in the game. I can't remember a single throw down the field other than the one he short hop to the tight end in a blown coverage. So if you don't have that down the field, stretch the field kind of threat, you end up with a squishy offense. You end up with an offense that's sort of playing with all within 15 yards. And really, Carolina, they started off the game in man coverage and played a lot of it and had control of the wide receivers then. Ended up switching to some real basic cover 2, Tampa 2 kind of looks. And it just looked like it sort of befuddled the Cowboys. I'm sure they're going to go back and look at that and say we've got to get back to who we are. But Luke Kuechly was killing them in the run game. There was nowhere to run the football. They had some core base runs that looked pretty good that they should have run more times. When they end up pulling Zach Martin and pull the center, typically Travis Frederick, now Joe Looney out around. I think they ran for 10 yards every time they ran it. So I think they'll get back to some basics. I really believe they have to get back to running Dak Prescott. Some read option stuff. They ran one thing that kind of looked like an RPO and hit it. and on a slant and never came back to it again. So there's some things that worked, but not much. It was a pretty tough day for the Cowboys.
You guys, of course, were on the call for the Packers and the Bears and the Aaron Rodgers comeback. I have a couple of questions with this. I'm curious, if he hadn't signed that big contract, do you think that Aaron Rodgers would have played in the second half against the Bears?
Interesting question. I'm sure it gave him more confidence to come out there and play in the second half. I'm going to guess he would have. The question I raised during the game is if the Bears had scored, they went down and made it 20-0 with a field goal. If they'd scored a touchdown, would he have come back at 24-0 and come back and played in the game? Maybe. You just don't know. But that was what we used to see out of Brett Favre, and that was what we used to love about Brett, was no matter what happened to him physically, he found a way to play in the game and keep that consecutive game streak alive and win some games like that. I don't know if Brett, maybe the day his father passed away, that was as impressive, but to see him out there on one leg and not be able to torque around on that left knee, that was about the best of Aaron Rodgers. He's had some phenomenal games, but you add that element of the injury into it and coming back and the Willis Reed and the whole thing. That was about the best I've seen out of Aaron Rodgers.
I still find it fascinating how we try to quantify Aaron Rodgers' greatness. That, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time, and then followed by Joe Montana and John Elway or whatever order. But Aaron Rodgers is always labeled as the most talented quarterback to play the position. Like, how is history going to look at Aaron Rodgers if, let's say, the resume doesn't include another Super Bowl, just a lot of great numbers, the touchdown to interception ratio is going to be wonderful, but if you only have one and you're considered the most talented quarterback in history, how do we look at Aaron Rodgers when it's all done?
I think he's the most talented overall guy. I mean, John Elway, Burt Jones. You put a few guys in that physically, Mike Vick, Randall Cunningham, just as far as the physical skills that are sort of superior to everybody else, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what I don't think people talk about nearly enough. This is a guy that won Celebrity Jeopardy. I'm going to start there. His recall is almost second to none among people I've ever met that do anything. Forget playing the football, but as far as playing the quarterback position, he has the ability to recall things. I mean, you can ask him about a drive that happened 10 years ago, and he'll take you through the entire drive. I mean, if he doesn't have a photographic memory, he has something pretty close to it. So his decision-making and ability to manipulate the defense, I think, is way underrated. Just how purely intelligent the man is way underrated. Then you throw in his movement skills. You throw in that little flick of an arm motion. You throw in all the off-balance throws. I remember that playoff game that we did against Arizona. He moved to his left and threw a Hail Mary 60 yards off balance, that a play he swears he's practiced before. As far as just overall complete package of a quarterback, I'd be hard-pressed to come up with one I thought was more impressive.
If I said you could have Brady or Rodgers at the peak in their prime?
I think Brady has a lot of those things that I just talked about, and he would be my top 2 or 3 as far as recall. Peyton Manning, another guy on that list. Russell Wilson's one of those guys that can do some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Tom Brady obviously never had the physical movement skills that Aaron Rodgers has. I do think he had the arm strength. I think people greatly underestimated his arm strength, Brady's arm strength over the years. He has certainly had the intelligence, but I just think the movement skills would have separated if you're just going, forget Super Bowls and numbers and all that stuff, physically what they could do. I think Rodgers would be a little ahead.
Oh, so you take Rodgers over Brady?
Yeah, just because of the physical movement skills, yeah.
Have fun in Dallas, Cris. Great to talk to you again. Tell Al and Michelle we said hello, and we'll be watching.
Will do, buddy. See you,
Thank
Dan.
you, bud. That's Cris Collinsworth, NBC Sunday Night Football.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.